What's up, guys, girls, bisexuals, transsexuals, homosexuals, whatever, everyone's welcome. I'm Sir Hax, and I'm here with a new challenge for the Pokemon main games. Stuff like Pokemon Black, or White, or Gray if it existed, but no, Black and White too. But in this case, I'm going to be playing Pokemon Emerald. Anyways, I call this the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Challenge because it's gonna be a lot like the Mystery Dungeon games. That's what the rules are all about. It's a bit different from a Nuzlocke. The only thing that will be the same is that you can lose this, because if it wasn't possible to lose, then it's not really a challenge and it'd be pretty boring. Before I begin, let's just get to the rules. If you only care about the actual gameplay, then skip this video, move on to the next when it's up. But if you actually want to try this challenge, watch the video, please. For the first set of rules, I'm going to be talking about the party, but the main restriction here is that you can only have 4 Pokemon in your party at one time. I'm not going to be very nice to myself for this. You shouldn't be either, because rules are rules. Nothing is free from this rule, not even the most useless of HM slaves, or even Pokemon you catch. I'm going to get to that part later. There are 2 slots that are preoccupied in your party. They are your starter and your partner Pokemon. Now, if you are wondering what these terms mean, it means that your starter is the Pokemon you first obtain. In other words, your starter, the one you get from the professor. In this case, I'm going to be picking from either Trico, Mudkip, or Torchic. I'm going to be picking a certain something that I heard you like. Anyways, as for the partner Pokemon, it's the one you catch exactly after you get your starter Pokemon. This only applies to your first starter. I will get to that later when I talk about how you'll lose. You cannot gather any recruited Pokemon until you have an established partner. These 2 Pokemon are not removable and they must stay in your party the whole time. I can't ever put them in the PC. Last but not least, if you want to recruit a Pokemon, you must have a free party slot. In other words, only 3 Pokemon may be in your party if you want to recruit a Pokemon. Any other method is against the current rules. But if you have to make an exception, such as your Pokemon can't learn in HM, go for it, just shove it in the 5th slot. But for me, I'm not going to put that onto my little display. I'm going to get to that on the next video. This set of rules involves the restrictions on my inventories, bag, items, whatever. There's quite a few restrictions, but these restrictions are meant to simulate the actual Mystery Dungeon games and their inventory mechanics as best as they can. First up for the rules, your bag can only contain 8 slots when you begin the game. You're allowed to make your Pokemon hold items to free, 2 more slots, or 4 if you have 4 Pokemon in your party. Luckily, if you clear a gym, then your bag gains 8 more slots. These slots are much less merciful than usual inventory slots, because if you have, say, 5 full restores, that's not going to take up 1 slot, that takes up 5. I've got to be very careful with my inventory, and it's none of that, oh no, I'm at low HP, so I've got to use full restore 30 times until the PP runs out. Unless I have, like, say, 72 or 64 slots, then maybe I could pull that off, but that's not what I want to go for. Thankfully, your key item and male inventory slots are free from this rule as well. If you play on Generation 5 or higher, where the TMs are infinite use, they are exempt. But I am not doing that because this is Pokemon Emerald, it's gotta be hard, Gen 3, TMs are not infinite use. If it's in there, it fills up a slot. Wait, there's more rules. Actually, this is more of a nice rule, or guideline, policy, whatever. If your game doesn't have a PC item storage, you can start with 16 slots. Cheers. To Pokemon Black or White, or X and Y, or any other game like that. Anyways, those NPCs that let you buy things and stuff, like Pokemarts, or guys who sell water bottles for 100 more Poke because it's a rough time, need to make sales, good deal. 300 Poke instead of the usual 200 Poke price, great deal. No, don't actually do that, it's a horrible deal. They get hit by the rule hammer, those NPCs, and they are now single use, only 8 items can be bought at once from them. Selling items is still the same, and it has no restrictions, infinite use if you want to sell stuff. Next rule involves reviving items. No reviver seeds, the ones that just revive your Pokemon immediately after they faint. The ones that save you from evil Dialgas and Palkias who use their moves and one-hit KO both of your Pokemon. Yeah, reviving items are a bit more douchey this time. They must be used to turn immediately after a Pokemon faints. Just like a Reviver Seed. None of the turns like after the turn after a Pokemon faints or like away from a battle. It's gotta be used right after if you have one in your inventory. And for the last rule, finally, if you white or black out, because, you know, I'm not a racist, that involves both colors, then all of the held items that are being held and were in your inventory prior to the latest save point, another term I will get to later, must be discarded. That means I have to be pretty damn careful with my held items, especially if I ever get something good, say a leftover, to hold on to. This next section should be pretty short. There's only 2 rules to go with this set. You can only save at a healing point. In short, a healing point is a place where you can get your entire party healed in a single go. PCs do not count, even if they can do such a thing, because it's gotta be one go. Such as the Pokemon Center or rest houses. Maybe doctors or nurses, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not playing a game with those NPCs, so yeah, I'm just gonna leave that out. Leave that for you to decide if you play the games with this challenge. And that can also include the beds that Galactic Grunts sleep in, which you have to watch for, because it'd be really awkward if you're sneaking into a Galactic base and there was just a grunt sleeping there. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? Speaking of those, you can find a Pokeball. I digress. Let's move on. Saving your progress anywhere else is against the rules, because anything that's not a healing point is considered a dungeon. Again, another term I'll get to later. Healing points can also be referred to as the Kangaskhan and rock sections you would find. I did say this was supposed to make the game more mystery dungeon-like, did I? Save points just mean the same thing as healing points, just something to keep in your head for the rest of this video. That should be it for rule set number 3. And the next one is about the term dungeons. Rule set number 4 should be as long as rule set 1. Don't worry too much about the length. If you could endure the first one, then you can definitely endure this next set, so let's get on with it. This set is about the events that happen between the save points, which will be referred to as dungeons. They must be cleared before returning to your latest save point. If you happen to white out, which could happen before you make all your Pokemon faint by having the partner or starter Pokemon faint and not being able to revive them. To make these dungeons a little harsher, recruited Pokemon that faint in an unclear dungeon without being revivable will be considered released immediately. That's the little red rescue team, blue rescue team love over there. No more using it, it's just dead. It doesn't like your team. It doesn't respect you anymore because you made it die. And to end this off, the term clearing means to reach the other side of the dungeon. In other words, the next save point. Say I was in Little Route, gotta go through Route 1. I cannot go back to Little Route until I reach Oldale Town. Anyways, this is the second to last rule set. Hooray! Rule set number 5. It's just for those other miscellaneous godlines, the ones that just didn't fit in the previous categories. They're also the most optional of all the rules, with the exception of the first one, where you must set the battle style of the set. It resembles the Mystery Dungeon series more than the shift style, don't you think? Because you have to make your move carefully, switch partners. Anyways, you can only overlevel past the gym leader's highest by 5 levels. Margins are allowed within reasons, like say I couldn't control it and it ended up going 7 levels higher, that's fine. Nicknaming my Pokemon is required, but it's optional, you don't have to. If you like your Pokemon's names just the way they are, go for it. Even if you're Japanese and your Clang just happens to be named Deer. Last but not least, well, kind of, your trainer name is your team name. You know, like the one you establish when you play the actual Mystery Dungeon games. Now, you might be wondering, how do I even lose this challenge? Well, there is a way, or else this wouldn't be a challenge, silly. Your partner Pokemon is in the failure mechanism of this challenge. Here's how it works. If your first partner in slot 2 faints twice, they're released and the second slot becomes a normal recruit slot. Slot 3 becomes your new partner slot immediately. None of that PC stuff. You can't switch Pokemon. Whatever's there, it's immediately your new partner. So whatever is there, surprise! It's your next partner Pokemon. This continues until slot 4 becomes the normal slot, and after that, your starter Pokemon goes solo and gets 2 lives. No partners, just itself. Of course, exceptions can be made if HMs are required. Once the starter goes down, the challenge is lost. You lose. It's over. GG, well played, nobody K thanks bye. And death battering with HM slaves is not allowed. But yeah, you can have HM slaves, of course. That's all for the rules, and I really hope my debut will be enjoyed by you. Subscribe, blah blah blah, like my video. As I play this challenge on Pokemon Emerald. As for the final exception, if you are grinding, you are granted full immunity from these rules, as long as you grind in a dungeon you've already cleared. And if you don't understand a word I said at all, just watch the LP as it comes along, because LPs are great examples of rules.